Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Diverse Dialogues podcast. We are on episode 4. I'm Mateo.
And I'm Ruben.
And for today's podcast, if you've seen the last one, at the very end, we mentioned, as always, that we are going to be doing Pokemon as our topic. Me and Ruben have played Pokemon for a pretty long while, I would assume.
Long time.
And that leads us to our questions off rip, so let's get right into that. And I'll start it off with, what got you into Pokemon? AKA, what was your first game? What was it? What got you into the world of Pokemon? I'll start off with this one, I guess. I remember, like it was yesterday, I recently just got, for Christmas, the Nintendo DSi. And then my dad was like, oh, let's go over to their local game store to get you some games. And the one I picked, because it looked cool from the box art, was Pokemon Black version. And don't ask me why I picked that one in particular, but I just thought that the dragon looked cool in the thing, and kids are easily entertained by things that they don't know about, so got into that. And despite me being terrible and skipping through the dialogue, which is the worst thing you can do in a Pokemon game, is skip the dialogue so you have no idea where to go, I had a blast. I loved it. And yes, so basically Generation 5 was my introduction into Pokemon, which at the time, many people really, really hated Gen 5, but I love it, and now people are starting to actually like it as well. So, what was your introduction?
Alright, now, most people are probably going to be like, what the hell when I say this? But my first introduction to Pokemon was a video game for the Pokemon... no, not the Pokemon. The Nintendo 3DS called Pokemon Rumble World.
Oh, the obscure ones.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a free game, so I was like, oh, I guess I'll try it or whatever. And let's admit, the game was surprisingly really fun. And as I'm like collecting Pokemon, I was like, wow, these Pokemon look really cool. But let's admit, in Pokemon Rumble World, since every Pokemon looks like they're made out of triangles or something, they do not look like, what you think they would look like. So I'm like... I want to look up what these Pokemon actually look like. And, I got into Pokemon from there. A very obscure one, but that's actually how I got introduced to Pokemon.
That's pretty hilarious.
It was either that or the Pokemon anime.
Yeah. Alright, your question?
Alright. What is your favorite and least favorite Pokemon type? I guess I'll start first.
Yeah.
My favorite Pokemon type is Ghost type, mainly because I love things that are ghost related. Yada yada, yeah. But my least favorite... What were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna say, if you've not seen him and his appearance, his physique,
yeah.
you can understand why.
Alright. My least favorite type is probably Ice type, because one... there's surprisingly ice types like the least amount of Pokemon types. And two, it has like barely any resistances.
Yeah. I'll piggyback off of your least favorite and do ice. Even though I love it offensively, it's horrible defensively. Because if you have a Pokemon that's a dual type, that definitely saves it. But if it's just ice type, you're screwed. But as for my favorite typing, I'd probably say fire.
Okay.
Just because, yes.
Because yes. Alright.
What was your favorite and least favorite game of the series? I would say my favorite is, hello bias, hello welcome, it's Gen 5. Because it's the one I grew up with, and to be honest with you, has the best story probably in the majority of the Pokemon games, especially compared to the recent games that we've gotten lately. So I think the story just carries for Gen 5 and that. And if I were to find a least favorite, I can't say I can't do Scarlet and Violet because I haven't played them personally, so I can't give off my opinions, but god damn, it looked horrible when it was first launched. And I'm like, am I the only one? Because many people were like, oh my god, it looks so good. I'm like, am I the only one that thinks this looks horrible? Like, Gen 8 looked way better than that.
Yeah.
Now, it's either down between Gen 7 or Gen 8, but I think I'm going to go with Gen 8 because while both of them were boring to me, Gen 8 just felt so lifeless, despite it being technically an open world, like an attempt to being an open world Pokemon game. It just felt so empty to me. I don't know why.
Okay, yeah, I get you for that one. My favorite was Gen 6 because, well, one, that was pretty much like the prime of like Pokemon success was Gen 6.
Yeah.
You got like a bunch of fan favorites for that one, and it introduced the Mega Evolutions.
Which is the only mechanic that everyone actually likes and is really excited about in the upcoming game, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah. So yeah, Gen 6 is like my favorite. My least favorite, Gen 8. Like he said, the world is like, it's big, but realistically there's like nothing to do. So if you're playing Pokemon Sword and Shield, you're probably walking around like that humongous field that just has random Pokemon and those Dynamax like beacons or whatever. Yeah, it's honestly boring to me.
Yeah, and it's a shame because it looks great.
Yeah.
And I don't know why or how they managed to fuck it up with Gen 9. I hope Gen 10 is a lot better if they will make a Gen 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also hoping that if they were to this is a little bit of a side tangent, but since they are making Pokemon Legends Zygarde, I'm just gonna call it that because the Z and the A are bullshit at that point.
Okay.
Since they are including Mega Evolutions back, I'm hoping that preludes into the. Okay, here's the thing. As much as a Gen 5 remake is likely to happen, many people are wanting to say screw the remakes because lately the remakes have been horrible. Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamond, for example, have been probably some of the worst Pokemon games known to man, but I just never played them since I can't give out my opinion about that. Many people are saying that they want to see Pokemon Black version and White version 3, and I'm honestly on board with that. So, and if they can bring Mega Evolutions into that, I'd actually be so stoked. I feel like that would really skyrocket the sales for a Gen 5 game. But anyways.
All right. I mean, he sort of already answered this, but what are your opinions on the upcoming Pokemon Legends ZA?
If it has Mega Evolutions, it will sail, so
yeah,
it'll make sales.
Yeah, like I said, Gen 6 was basically like the peak of like Pokemon. Like that's like pretty much when like almost everyone was like joining in on Pokemon. Well, probably because Pokemon Go, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
So a remake of like one of the best generations would definitely like hopefully be a really good game.
The main complaint about Gen 6 was that it was, Pokemon X and Y was that it was a stupidly easy game. And I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, and like over time, Pokemon games have gotten more easy. Compared to like the Game Boy games, it does not hold your hand at all.
Nope. But yeah, that's pretty much all of our questions, and now we're going to move on towards the topic of today's video, which is our favorite Pokemon of each type, and as well as some other categories. Alright, and to start off with our favorite Pokemon of each type, we're actually going to do other categories as well, and let's go with a different start, and let's go with our, no pun intended, let's start off with our starter as what's our favorite starter. Mm-hmm. And for me, again, bias is exploding in this room right now. My favorite starter is Snivy and pretty much the whole evolutionary line of Snivy because despite, I think when I first got into Pokemon, I think I chose Tepig first. I liked Snivy more because actually my first impression of it was like, oh, we both have the same resting bitch face. So I was like, oh, yeah, I connect with this guy a little bit. And I just liked, reptiles are always one of my favorite types of animals. So that immediately was like a plus. And on top of that, like just that smug attitude, I just liked from Snivy. Mm-hmm. And Superior, in my opinion, is one of my favorite, despite it being like not as impressive as many of the other grass starters, to me it looks just regal, and I really like that. So that's my favorite, and yeah, I just grew up with it. And I remember when I first got into Pokemon, I named Snivy. I named it Knockout.
Okay.
And I was super young, and also it was horrible. It was like Knokout.
Okay.
I was young. I was very, very young.
Okay. All right. All right. My favorite starter is Rowlet from Gen 7. Now, for the longest time, I would usually go with like the fire starters because out of the three, fire, water, and grass, fire just seemed the coolest.
And also mainly dominates on a lot of the Pokemon games.
Yeah. But on Gen 7, the grass type was actually my favorite. I mean, don't get me wrong, Litten's pretty cool. But Rowlet, I really liked because, one, I do like birds. So you could also apply that logic. Bird. And it evolves into a grass ghost type. And I think it was the first ghost starter, I believe. Yeah, I believe so.
I think.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else, yeah.
Yeah. So that already piqued my interest. And of course, Decidueye just looks really cool.
Indeed he does. Alright, now we're going to move on to the types, and then after that we'll go into the other categories, like legendaries, fossils, evolutions. We'll get to that in a minute. Mm-hmm. So, what type do you want to start off with first?
I guess normal type.
Alright, normal.
It's normal.
My favorite normal type, it's a bit of a cop-out answer, but Arceus, just because I cannot fathom to think of a regular normal type Pokemon that I like.
Okay. My favorite normal type is Noctowl. Yes, I'm not including pure normal types. So I had to find a way to just go with a normal flying type, which was Noctowl. Like I said, I like birds. So that's why I picked Noctowl.
Oh, and just for a reminder, there is no repeats with these ones, except for our most favorites. So that's the only thing that's a repeat, but everything else is different answers. So, give or take. I'll just go down the list with my thing, and then you just find it on with the thing.
Okay.
First off, let's just go with ground. My favorite ground type is Crocodile.
Funny thing is, my favorite is also Crocodile.
Sweet.
For ground type.
Glad we're on the same page. Just because, like, even though there's a whole bunch of great options for ground types, I think just because Crocodile, for me personally, in game had one of the coolest like game cries, like Pokemon cries in game.
Yeah, for sure.
And just because he looks so fucking badass.
For sure, yeah. And compared to most other ground types, Crocodile definitely stands out for sure.
Yeah.
Because most ground types are usually like brown or something. This one was like black and like darkish red.
Dark red, burgundy, freaking awesome color combinations and everything.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like, if they do have Mega Evolutions be in a Black and White 3, I hope he gets a Mega Evolution.
Yeah,
that would be the fucking coolest shit ever.
That'd be awesome.
All right, favorite fighting type. My favorite fighting type is, again, no big surprise, Lucario. Just because Lucario is just one of the sickest Pokemon out there, and just this fact that it works so well in game, and that Mega Lucario is broken as shit. So, and just because of the looks, it just looks awesome.
Yeah. My favorite fighting type is Gallade. Now, first off, Gallade is far more superior than Gardevoir. I don't care what any of y'all say, but also get some help if you like Gardevoir for other reasons. But also,
I'm gonna argue against that.
Gallade is just like really good in battle as well.
Yeah. I used Gallade when I first got, because how everyone loves Pokemon Platinum, I was like, all right, I want to see how much, like, I want to see for myself how much people like this game. And first off, I'll admit, really, really good Pokemon game, better than fucking Diamond and Pearl will be, and it's a much better improvement. And I used Gallade because it's a really, really great Pokemon offensively and can do a lot of good damage. So yeah, I liked Gallade a lot. Mm-hmm. All right, moving on to water types. So there's no like organization with these types. It's just going to be random. So just my favorite water Pokemon is Lapras, or Lapras, whatever the hell you pronounce it. That's my favorite. Just because it just looks like it just looks like a beautiful Pokemon to me. Honestly, I don't know. There's not really a big reason why, but it also is a really good Pokemon as well. Like
the original HM Pokemon.
Yes. But yeah, really, really good Pokemon, and just just nice.
All right. My favorite water type is Araquanid, which is from Gen 7, so I don't blame y'all if y'all don't know it. Araquanid,
I like Araquanid.
design-wise, it looks really cool.
Yeah, I used it too.
And in game, in battles, it is surprisingly really good. Probably because it has like a shitload of defense.
Yeah.
So it is like really cool design wise and also really good gameplay wise.
Yeah, definitely. All right, fire. Okay, mine's a bit about mine's weird because it technically is a cop-out answer, but it's also not. I specifically went for Mega Charizard X as my favorite fire type. Well, because yes, Charizard is like everyone's favorite. Charizard is far from my favorite, but the Mega Evolution X is one of the most dopest things ever. And also I'm just a sucker for blue fire, so that carried up like miles away. But if I were to find a Pokemon that isn't the Mega, you know, I'm just gonna throw a curveball. I'm gonna go with Colossal.
Okay.
Just because I loved using him in Gen 8. Despite me not liking that game, he was a fucking great Pokemon to use.
Okay. Alright. My favorite fire type is Chandelure. Now,
That's a great one.
It has the ghost type, which, already scores some points. And 2, unlike most other Pokemon that are just based off of inanimate objects, this one actually makes sense.
So much sense.
Yeah. And also the purple flames just adds more to it. And it's pretty good gameplay wise.
Yeah. I love using it in my playthroughs when I play Pokemon Black and White. And also its shiny just makes it a regular Chandelier, which I really, really like because it just has regular fire.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite grass type. Now, despite me saying that I liked Superior is my favorite grass type, but I can't use that since that's a repeat. So I went with my second favorite, which is Trevenant, since it's a really cool idea of a haunted tree, and it actually is a pretty fun fun Pokemon to use in X and Y.
All right. Now, for favorite grass type, this is the first one that I picked just for meme purposes. I picked Ludicolo. Now, yeah, design-wise, it looks stupid as hell. But in game, it is surprisingly really good.
Yeah, water grass is actually not bad at all.
Yeah. But yeah, Ludicolo is always a great one to me.
Yeah. All right, now moving on to Dark. Now, this was the one that I think both of us had a hard time picking because there's so many good options.
Mm-hmm.
And for my favorite Dark type, I gotta go with Greninja. So, I mean, what else can you say? The anime made him look so much cooler than he actually is in game. Smash Bros made him fucking cool. Like, there's a reason why he's so popular, and his design is also ingenious. Like, whoever thought of the design for him needs to get a fucking raise. And what else couldn't be said about Greninja that hasn't been said before? He's awesome, and he could have been my favorite water type, but I just love Lapras just for bias purposes. So yeah, Greninja's my favorite Dark type.
Favorite Dark type for me is Zoroark. Now, it has one of the coolest designs out there.
Yep.
And also, when I heard this thing was not a legendary, I was actually kind of surprised. Now, this was around the time I was just barely getting into Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
I actually thought Zoroark was a legendary Pokemon.
Or at least a mythical. I would have been...
Yeah.
It probably would have fit a lot more as a mythical.
Yeah. So, that one caught me off guard. And gameplay-wise, it has the illusion ability, which is one of the coolest abilities in the game. So, yeah, Zoroark is really cool.
Alright, now moving on to Ghost. Now this is where I will take Ruben's answer for Chandelure and use it as my favorite Ghost type because Same reasons, same shit. It's awesome. And also, its sprite noise is also kind of chilling as well.
Now, my favorite ghost type, and I know most people will be like, oh, wow, that's such an original answer, is Gengar. Now, Gengar has always, since day one of Pokemon Rumble World, has always been a really cool Pokemon to me. And, like, any other, like, spin-off Pokemon game where Gengar was, like, an option, I would always go for Gengar.
It's a fan favorite.
Yep.
For a reason.
And, of course, the, like, OG ghost type.
Yeah.
So, that...
Probably one of the more popular ones.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. Alright, now moving on to Electric. This was kind of a tough one because there's not too many options, in my opinion. I'm like, oh my god, yes. But...
It's Pikachu!
If you say that, you're a fucking weeb. I went with Electros.
Okay.
Because it's a Pokemon that technically has no weaknesses, and it also, I mean, despite it being a very annoying Pokemon to level up, it looks awesome, and, well, actually, here's the thing. In the 3D era, it looks kind of stupid, but in in Gen 5, like what is it? Just the sprite in-game on that, it looks a lot better there than it does in the fucking in-game where its mouth is just constantly open like that, where you actually see it. I just like but it's also a really good Pokemon though. Like, really weird how it has so many great move pools.
Mm-hmm. Alright, for Electric, I went with Luxray. Now, fun fact, in Gen 4, aside from the starters, it's the only 3-stage evolution line, which I was like, really? There's really not that many 3-stage evolutions in Gen 4? Anyways, aside from that, design-wise, it looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Gameplay-wise, it's pretty strong as well. But yeah, Luxray's just always been cool to me. So I want that.
Yep. Favorite rock type? Gigalith. Despite it being a trait evolution, which I'm pretty sure many people hate.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And also Friendship Evolution. Yeah. Lucario's Friendship Evolution fucking sucks. So, but despite that, everyone loves Lucario. But back to Gigalith. If you play Pokemon Black version and White version 2, and you catch an Emolga and you get a free Gigalith because of it, Gigalith is really fun to use, and also is, I don't care what people says, looks a lot cooler than fucking Golem.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you can prove me otherwise. Despite it being technically a Geodude clone, the whole Rock and Rolla line looks a lot better than fucking Geodude line. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For Rock, I went with Aggron. Now I'm gonna be real. I didn't really favor much of the rock types throughout the series.
Yeah.
So Aggron, I sort of just went with design wise, but it's also really good in game as well, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went with Aggron.
It's a bit of a slow one, but it does a good amount of damage and has good defense, obviously, because it's a rock and steel type.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, a lot of my answers are, I'll admit, they're just basically mainly off of design, but it's also because of playthroughs as well.
Mm.
Favorite psychic type? Mine is Gardevoir. No, not for the reasons that you think, but just because it is a good Pokemon to use in-game, and its design is also, it's unique, I'll say. It's a bit of a unique one, since I cannot tell you exactly what the fuck it's supposed to be based off of, so...
I don't know either.
And yeah, just because it's a good Pokemon to have, and its new Psychic Fairy type really does help it a lot. So yeah, not original, but who cares? That's the only Psychic type I can actually vibe with.
Mm-hmm. My favorite Psychic type is Metagross. Now, design-wise, it is really cool. Whoever thought of the idea of making a UFO/spider/supercomputer into one Pokemon, give them a raise. And 2, it is really good in gameplay as well. And its Mega Evolution looks really sick.
Yeah, it's one of the coolest ones.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to find a Pokemon that, besides Gardevoir, my favorite Psychic type, I just thought of it right now, it probably would be Reuniclus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
So, I'll put them in for tie. Those are my type of favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Quick water break. Favorite Fairy type? Now, since this is technically the newest type, there's not going to be that too many of those, but there is still plenty to choose from. And despite me not really using a fairy type often, or ever really, I decided I went with Grimmsnarl. Just because I remember using him in my Gen 8 playthrough, Sword and Shield playthrough, and he was pretty good. Nothing too crazy, but like I said, I don't really have that many... I don't have that much of a connection, besides Gardevoir as well, with the fairy types, so... I went with it because of the design, and also, I think Dark and Fairy actually is not that bad of a typing, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, for a fairy, I picked Mimikyu. Now, first off, even though it wasn't promoted as a Pikachu clone, as, like, let's say, Dedenne or Emolga, I think, Mimikyu is, like, the most popular Pikachu clone, even though it's not promoted as such. 2, it is probably got one of the best backstories out of most Pokemon out there. And it has the exclusive ability of like the decoy mechanic.
Yeah.
So you know for sure it'll survive one hit. So yeah, Mimikyu's always been really cool to me.
Definitely a very interesting one. And its introduction with that totem battle, like with you going through like the supermarket, that was pretty cool.
That was awesome.
Favorite dragon type. Again, another one where it probably took us like too long to figure out which one's our favorite. There are so many good options, but there's a reason why I kept... But some of the dragon Pokemon are also kept in the other categories for me, so that's why I went with this answer, but I went with Garchomp. If not Garchomp because of popularity, probably Flygon. Okay. Despite them having the exact same typing. But... Garchomp, what else has been said about it? He's a menace. He's the biggest threat in Pokemon in Gen 4 for reasons because, you know, it's the ace of the champion, and it's been told that it is one of the most difficult Pokemon to defeat and one of the hardest champions ever, and it's a very, very powerful Pokemon, so much so that they even ban it in playthrough sometimes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Garchomp is awesome, despite me not having too much of a connection with it, and its design is also fucking sick. But, again, like I said, technically my actual favorite dragon types are for other categories. But, yeah, that's just my favorite since I just can't think of anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like he said, I was also struggling with dragon types because, 1, they all look so cool, and 2, they're also part of some other categories that we'll get to in a bit. So, for dragon, I went with Noivern. Design-wise, it looks really cool. Gameplay-wise, I didn't use it as much, but it seems pretty good from what I've gathered. And, yeah, I would go with other ones, but I can't really because some other categories. So, Noivern was my favorite dragon type.
Favorite steel type.
Okay.
As his was for rock, mine is the same with steel, so my favorite is Aggron, because when I played Omega Ruby, I used him, and he was a really good addition to my team, and also just because the Aaron, whatever the hell, the lineup is... It's actually a really good lineup, and it also is a great teammate to have with you. If it wasn't Aggron, it would 100% be Bisharp. But I think Aggron just is slightly cooler, and just because I don't want to keep on using Unova Pokemon in my team, because I don't want to put in too much bias.
Alright, my favorite steel type is Corviknight. 1, it is a crow, and I love crows. And bird. 2, it's an armored crow. And 3, it is one of the few Pokemon from Gen 8 I actually remembered. Because it is really, well, design-wise, it's really cool.
Yep.
And 2, it is really good in battle.
Also surprisingly humongous.
Yeah.
Alright. Poison type. Now, since poison and bug types go hand in hand like peanut butter and jelly, it's kind of difficult to choose which one, but it wasn't that difficult for me. For poison type, I chose Scolipede, and one of the things about Gen 5 that gets the most praise is that they actually made bug types cool as shit. They were like the gen that really made them actually cool and actually not like some weird design. And Scolipede is probably one of my favorite Pokemon in terms of like from that generation. Yes, there's a lot of Gen 5 Pokemon in this, but I can't help it. That's what I grew up with, and all the other Pokemon games from the latest ones have not been as great since the previous ones. So yeah, I think Scolipede is a freaking awesome looking Pokemon as well, and pretty great Pokemon to have your team as well.
My favorite poison type is Salazzle. No, not for the reasons you think. But in other words, honestly, compared to most poison types, it was probably the best one I could pick since poison types aren't usually the ones I go for. But Salazzle's pretty good in battle. I remember using it in Sun and Moon gameplay.
Yeah.
It was really good, surprisingly.
Despite it being a bit of a pain in the ass to find a female.
Yeah.
I forgot the other one.
Female Salandit, yeah.
Salandit, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm. But I was lucky enough to find it the first few tries.
Nice.
And Salazzle was like really good. So yeah.
Alright, and almost done. So moving on from poison, now we're moving on to bug. I chose Volcarona. Probably one of the coolest bug types out there. And also really cool how you have to go into this like underground area to find Volcarona. And to be honest, if you would have told me, oh, it's a legendary Pokemon, I probably would have believed you in a heartbeat.
Yeah, for sure.
I think many people thought it was a legendary or mythical at least, but one of the two, kind of the same level as Zoroark.
Now that I think about it, are there any legendary bug types? Or even mythical?
What's his name? Genesect.
Oh yeah.
That's the mythical, but I don't know about legendary.
Legendary, I'm not sure.
But yeah, Volcarona is just awesome, and yeah, even though it's a bit of a pain in the ass to catch, it's a really great addition to a team.
Alright. For bug type, this one's sort of an inside joke, but also a genuine answer, is Yanmega. Yeah, only like few people would know why I picked that. But unironically, design-wise, it's really cool.
It's my second favorite.
Mm-hmm. I know most people say Gen 5 was like basically the big introduction to bug types, because that's when bug types actually looked cool, compared to like freaking Butterfree or whatever. But Yanmega, which was in Gen 4, was still a really cool bug type.
There were some really good, good-looking bug type Pokemon in Gen 4. I'll give it that.
Yeah. And gameplay-wise, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty strong as well.
Yeah, speed boost to like just pretty much making sure that you will always go first on every turn. Freaking kind of a broken ability, but...
And no, Yanmega does not need a Mega Evolution. Because one, it'd be weird to call it Mega Yanmega. And it's even weirder for the Japanese folks because they'd called it Mega Yanma. So it's fine as it is.
Fair enough. Alright, now moving on to our second to last one, which is flying. Favorite is Braviary because it looks really, really cool. And yes, even though it's a regional, like a game exclusive, so I wasn't able to play it, when I got my hands on Pokemon White version 2, I was able to use it, and it was really, really awesome. So, and I also used it for a couple of other games that included it as well. And yeah, it's a great Pokemon to have, and just, I forgot what its ability was, but it's a really great flying type.
Mm-hmm. Alright, for flying, this is the last one I picked for meme purposes. It is Hawlucha, the Mexican wrestler bird thingy. Okay, but unironically, yeah. So one that already piqued my interest because it's a Mexican wrestler bird, and gameplay-wise, it's surprisingly really good, even though it's only one stage, or no evolution at all. I mean, but it introduced the move Flying Press, which was like a dual type move, which was really cool. And
that move fucking annoyed the shit out of me in Gen 6.
But yeah, Hawlucha's really cool.
And our last type is Ice type. And I kind of had a hard time finding out which one I wanted to use. To find one was my favorite. I was going to make for joke, it's a Vanillix. Joke purposes, it's Vanillix. Actual favorite, probably Abomasnow. That's what I went with, just because it's a really cool Pokemon. It's Mega's also kind of cool. But I can't help but laugh every time I look at the ice cream cone.
Mm-hmm. Alright, my favorite ice type. Now, I was also kind of struggling to pick ice types So I went with the only ice ghost type, which was Frostlass.
Yeah.
The origin of it, based off of the Yukiona, is really cool right off the bat. It is one of the rare, or not rare Pokemon, but it's still pretty difficult to get compared to most.
Yeah.
Since one, you have to make sure it's female, or the Snorunt is female, and two, you have to have a specific stone. But Frostlass is really cool at the end of the day.
And it can be really annoying and really menacing in battle.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Alright, and that's all the typings. Now we're going to move on to the other categories, such as Mega Evolutions and all that stuff. So, starting off with Legendary. Since, like I said before, some of the Dragon types are going to be into this category, so that's why I didn't necessarily use it as my favorite of that type. So my favorite Legendary, big surprise, it's Reshiram, because while most people think that Zekrom is the cooler one, I won't argue against that. I just found Reshiram more regal and more of a more empowering than cool factor, in my opinion. And I just thought Reshiram just looked fucking sick from the day I got the game. So, yeah, that's basically what I personally think is just my favorite Legendary.
My favorite Legendary is Giratina. Now, I was struggling to pick a Legendary for this one. It was tied for 3. It was either Giratina, Zygarde, or Necrozma. But I picked Giratina at the end of the day. Because, one, it has the whole distortion world behind it, which is really cool. And also, it's a ghost type, so I had to pick it.
Favorite Mythic, I went with Victini. There's not too many great Mythics, but mythical, whatever the hell. But I think Victini had a cool personality in the anime, and its backstory is kind of cool as well. And in the game, you find him in a little kid's room or something, and I'm like, that's pretty interesting. But yeah, I just thought it was a cute little Pokemon.
Mythical, I went with Marshadow, which I surprisingly don't see that many people talking about. Marshadow is really cool in my opinion. But yeah, it's not as popular as let's say freaking Celebi or something. But yeah, Marshadow has always been a really cool one to me. And of course it's a ghost type, so I had to pick it.
For Fossil, excuse me for not being able to say this properly, Kabutops, or Kabutops, however they pronounce it, just because I remember using that Pokemon in Pokemon Go, and in my opinion, it's really, really cool. And despite me not finishing it, I do want to have that on my team on a Gen 2 playthrough, so when I get the chance to do that, I'll definitely do that because he looks like the coolest Fossil to me.
For Fossil, I went with Tyrantrum. Now, one, this thing is an absolute menace in battle. So that's one thing. And two, it is one of the few fossil Pokemon that actually looks like a dinosaur. Well, I mean, I know there's Aerodactyl, but Tyrantrum definitely fits that more. So, and honestly, compared to most fossil Pokemon, Tyrantrum's the coolest in my opinion.
Yeah, there's not that many great ones, but for Evolutions, I went with Jolteon because I like speed.
Alright.
Not the drug.
Alright. Evolution, I went with Espeon. Espeon's just always looked really cool to me. Surprisingly, I know most people would assume I'd pick Umbreon, but I liked Espeon more.
Interesting. Alright, now we're moving on to our most favorite and least favorite. Like we said before, don't be surprised that there's going to be repeats for the most favorite because it's our favorite, for God's sake. So, but you probably will be surprised by this. My actual favorite Pokemon is Superior. Yeah, big shocker, right?
Yeah. My favorite, like I said, Gengar, OG Ghost type, and I loved it since day one.
And for our least favorite, basically what really defines as your least favorite is mainly because of you encountering this Pokemon too much, or you just don't like its design. I didn't necessarily have a very least favorite, and if there was, I just don't remember any bad experiences with it. So I just went with the Pokemon that I just found stupid, and that's Nosepass. Just because, just why? Just fucking why?
My least favorite, I went with Delibird. Okay, I don't care what any of y'all said. I hate that stupid penguin Santa Claus thing. So one, its whole gimmick is that it has one move, which is present, and basically it's a gamble. So it could either do some damage, or better yet, it could heal your enemy. So why the hell would you ever want this thing on your team?
That fucking bird that I hate. That fucking bird that I hate.
So yeah, Delibird, off the charts for me. Get that thing out of here.
Favorite regional form. Now, I didn't necessarily have that many, like, I never really thought about it, to be honest with you, as my favorite regional form, but after looking through them, I think Obstagoon might be my favorite just because, you know, rock. And just because it looks actually kind of looks fucking great.
Yeah. Regional form, I went with Alolan Marowak, which, right off the bat, it's a ghost type, so I had to pick it. And this was around the time when regional forms were first being introduced. And compared to most, I think Alolan Marowak stood out to me the most. Definitely compared to freaking Doug Trio or Meowth and Persian.
Yeah, some of the regional forms were just kind of weird to me, so that's why I just didn't really vibe with it at all.
Thankfully, they've gotten better in the next gen.
Yeah. For favorite shiny. So, like I said before, with the dragon situation, you get it. Haxorus. And you might be thinking, oh, another fucking black and red color shiny. It's, of course, is your favorite. Do you blame me, though? It's a freaking amazing, like, color combo, and it just makes the Pokemon look so much fucking cooler. It actually makes you want to actually find the shiny compared to, like, something as stupid as the Garchomp shiny, where it's just, like, a slightly lowered contrast version of it, where it's almost impossible to figure out.
Okay. My favorite shiny is shiny Gigalith. Now, I wanted to pick Gigalith as my favorite rock type, but I had to pick someone else. So I went with Gigalith, is shiny form, because the blue on Gigalith makes it look like it has crystals growing out of it.
Yeah.
Which looks really cool on Gigalith. So I had to win with that.
Favorite Mega Evolution? Even though I used Mega Charizard X as my favorite fire type, and but if it wasn't that, it would have been a Colossal. But my favorite Mega Evolution is a bit of a cop-out answer, but it's Mega Rayquaza because it's probably one of the most dopest designs Pokemon probably has ever made for like something like that. So, yeah. Nothing else to be said around there, even though I don't have a deeper connection with Gen 3.
My favorite Mega Evolution is Lucario, because one, I surprisingly did not pick it as my favorite fighting or steel type. So it's kind of easy for me to pick a Mega Evolution. And gameplay-wise, it is a complete menace. And there's a reason Lucario is in other spin-off games such as Smash Bros. Or Pokken Tournament. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I went with Lucario for Mega Evolutions.
Yo, Lucario for Street Fighter.
That would be cool.
Alright. Yeah, alright. And for our last one for today, we have Ultra Beasts. Like I said, I never played... Well, I barely was interested in Gen 7. And on top of that, I never even touched, like, the sequel. Like, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So I never even played those games. But if I were to find one just based off of design, Buzzwole, if that's even how you pronounce it, just because it looks like a pretty cool Ultra Beast in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. My favorite Ultra Beast is Blacephalon. Now, I saw the design, I was like, is this Pennywise in Pokemon? Which apparently, yeah, that's actually the origin of it, so I can't believe I got that right. And two, compared to most of the Ultra Beasts, that one definitely stands out the most to me.
And yeah, that definitely is an interesting one, and that's going to wrap it up for our favorite Pokemon lists. Alright guys, and that's going to wrap it up for today's podcast. Compared to the last one, this is compared to the last one, this is much shorter than the other one. But we're going to end it off today. And of course, Ruben's going to end it off with what our next topic will be in 2 weeks from now.
All right, so our next topic is not about a video game or anything like that, but instead we're just going to be doing a simple tier list of snacks because who doesn't love food, am I right? So this should be a really chill one, honestly, since we're going to be talking about food, so it's going to be pretty cool, I guess.
And since we already did fast food, snacks is a bit of like a different topic, so. All right, but anyways, that's going to wrap it up today, guys. I'm Mateo.
And I'm Ruben.
And we'll see you guys in the next one.